What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, February 1st, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:15 Eastern Time here in the United States. And we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and from here in the US. But before I get into all that, I want to just share with you this new picture that was released recently. I believe this was yesterday. They released this picture of what appears to be a structure of some kind on the surface of Mars. To me, this looks like a foundation of a building or some kind of a pyramid. So this is very, very concerning, very strange. And there's been a lot of predictive programming in video games and in Hollywood of ancient races on Mars, human-like beings on Mars millions of years ago. So this is very, very strange, and maybe this is why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars so badly, because maybe there's some stuff there that he wants to get, okay? And we have to just make sure we're not doing anything that could be opening gateways to hell or different things like that, okay? When you mess with ancient things, all kinds of bad stuff can happen. But thought I would just quickly share this with you. And last night we were covering what I thought was going to be a massive missile strike on Ukraine, but turned out Russia did not launch any missiles, which is really strange. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. But last night Russia sent 10 or 12 of their strategic bombers into the air, and it appeared that they were going to do this massive strike on Ukraine. They flew to their launch locations near the Caspian Sea, which is where they normally launch missiles at Ukraine from. They carried out launch maneuvers, but no missiles were launched, which is very bizarre. Okay, there was one apartment building that was hit by some kind of a ballistic missile in Poltava, and up to 8 people have been killed from that strike, but there was no massive widespread strike. All of Ukraine was lit up under an air raid alert for 4 hours, which is the longest I've ever seen the entire country of Ukraine lit up under an air raid since the war began. Okay, the last time that Ukraine was lit up like that, the whole country at once, was when Putin launched the first Oreshnik last year, late last year, okay, last fall. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Russia was doing a dry run for a nuclear attack on Ukraine. I don't know if they're just trying to scare Ukraine and send a message to the Trump administration. But very unusual situation last night. Up to a dozen Russian bombers flew all the way from northern Russia to the Caspian Sea, carried out launch maneuvers, but did not launch anything. Seems to me like they're training for a nuclear attack on Ukraine. That's what I think. Or they were trying to send a message to Trump that they're going to continue to strike Ukraine if they want, regardless of any kind of peace talks that they're having right now. And also, last night, after the strikes, or the fake strikes, they were playing this air raid alarm on the Russian Stalingrad clock radio frequency. Let me play this for you. So this is a radio frequency in the HF band that some Russian military people are using to broadcast various types of propaganda. And normally they have the Stalingrad clock playing on this. But after last night, they had this air raid alarm for a short period of time. So I don't know if this was some kind of a warning. I have no idea. But earlier this week, Russian nuclear bombers flew towards Alaska and they also flew towards Japan. Okay, this was the official press release from NORAD, but we know that 2 Tu-160 Blackjack strategic bombers from Russia's long-range aviation command executed a lengthy patrol over the neutral waters of the Arctic Ocean. Okay, so those are nuclear bombers, guys. The Tu-160s are Russia's best nuclear bomber, and they sent 2 of them towards Alaska and Yukon territory. And American F-35s, F-16s, and Canadian F-18s had to be scrambled along with aerial surveillance aircraft to intercept these Tu-160s. And then also 2 Russian Tu-95 bombers conducted some kind of a flight in the Sea of Japan. Okay, so this is clearly a show of force to Trump. Putin is trying to show Trump that he's not afraid of Trump, and he's going to do whatever he wants, basically. And we have some new information coming out about the DC plane crash. So the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines flight landing at Reagan Airport was apparently training to transport top U.S. leaders to a safe zone in the event of an attack on the nation's capital. Okay, so that's what I was telling you guys 2 days ago, that this was some kind of a continuity of government exercise, okay? And then we also had this crash in Philly last night, and we have some footage of that. Unfortunately, I cannot share the entire video because of YouTube guidelines, but if you look closely here, you can see what appears to be this plane coming straight down to the ground, almost like a cruise missile. Okay, and just seems a little bit bizarre to me that, you know, even if there was a technical malfunction, why a plane would just nosedive straight down to the ground. It just does not make any sense whatsoever. You know, I'd like to hear from any pilots out there. If you want to send me an email or use the contact form on my website, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, this is like a deliberate action, in my opinion. I mean, they would have had to, you know, push the steering wheel down and or whatever you call it in a plane, you know, and just go straight down to the ground like this. I can't see anything making a plane nosedive like that. But I guess anything is possible. I'm not claiming to be an expert. But what's also interesting is the massive mushroom cloud. Look at that, okay? Have you ever seen a small plane create such a massive fireball like that? So I'm just wondering if this wasn't some kind of an act of terror, and the new thing is they're using planes to attack us. Another weird thing, by the way, I just forgot, is last night on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency, there were some kind of radio pirates speaking in Spanish on the 8992 frequency, which is one of 2 of the U.S.'s primary nuclear war frequencies, and they were talking for a good 10-15 minutes, just having a random conversation. And I'm just wondering if that was cartel members and they were trying to mess with us, because some regular Joe in Mexico or Guatemala is not going to have the transmit power and the setup to be able to carry out a casual conversation on an HF band, especially the primary nuclear frequency for the U.S. You need to have a really good setup to do that, especially coming from South America or Central America, to be able to hear it clearly here in the U.S. So I wonder if the cartels weren't messing with us last night. And Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China started today. He imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican goods and a 10% tariff on Chinese imports. And we have Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, saying that Canada is ready for a forceful but reasonable immediate response. Let me play this news clip of him talking about this.
As we're at a critical moment. As President Trump stated yesterday, he is still committed to placing tariffs on Canada starting as early as tomorrow, possibly. Now, we don't know precisely what that could look like, but I do know 2 things. First, If the president does choose to implement any tariffs against Canada, we're ready with a response. A purposeful, forceful, but reasonable, immediate response. It's not what we want, but if he moves forward, we will also act.
So we'll have to see what happens here. We do import a lot of oil from Canada. Okay, we get a lot of oil from Canada, so this could potentially affect oil prices. We'll have to wait and see. And Trump posted on Twitter today that he ordered a precision military strike on senior ISIS leaders in Somalia last night. They were apparently found hiding in caves. And a Senate resolution introduced on Friday urges Washington and its allies to maintain a firm stance, ensuring that all possible options remain available against the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran. Okay, so it looks like the U.S. and Israel are getting ready to denuclearize Iran in some kind of a massive strike. And the IRGC Navy of Iran will later today unveil another underground missile base in the coastal areas of southern Iran, state TV reported. Cruise missiles with the capability of countering enemy destroyers' electronic warfare are stationed in the IRGC's new underground missile city, the IRGC-affiliated Sabrine News reported. And powerful Arab nations on Saturday rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's suggestion to relocate Palestinians from Gaza to neighboring Egypt and Jordan. Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, the Palestinian Authority, and the Arab League released a joint statement rejecting any plans to move Palestinians out of their territories in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. And the White House wants Ukraine to organize new parliamentary and presidential elections soon, according to Reuters. So this could be part of a potential peace deal or peace negotiations, is to have parliamentary and presidential elections in Ukraine. And the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that neither Ukraine nor Russia should count on victory in the war. According to him, Ukraine will definitely not be able to return the territories occupied by Russia, and Russia will also have to sacrifice something and make concessions. Which ones exactly will become clear during the negotiations. Rubio refused to voice the possible terms of the deal in advance. And Italy's foreign minister said that Secretary of State Rubio assured that the U.S. will not abandon Ukraine. And Zelensky posted this morning that the war will end when Ukraine secures a just peace. This peace must honor those who sacrificed their lives. They are never forgotten. Transitioning to diplomatic solutions does not necessarily mean the war is over. And apparently the number of deaths in Ukraine in 2024 almost tripled the number of births. And this was reported by the Ukrainian Ministry of Justice. And in the first month of 2025, Ukrainian drones successfully targeted 14 critical infrastructure sites in Russia. Among the affected sites were 10 refineries and oil depots. Okay, and there's another oil refinery that Russia shut down as a result of recent drone attacks. So they've already shut down like 2 or 3 oil refineries that provide up to 15% of Russia's oil refining capacity. Okay, so Putin's definitely not happy about that. And they also had to shut down one of their ports in the Baltic Sea where they deliver oil. Okay, and Finland announced a new military aid package for Ukraine. The value of the package is 200 million euros. And NATO is going to propose expanding their Arctic presence to Trump amid his Greenland statements. And the president of Panama says there will be no negotiations with the U.S. over ownership of the Panama Canal. And Moldova has started supplying gas to Transnistria after stopping Russian transit. The EU will pay for the gas. Heat and electricity will be restored to Transnistria in the coming days. So they've switched off of the Russian gas, which has been supplying Transnistria, and now the EU is supplying gas to Transnistria. And John Harold Rogers, age 63, of Vienna, Virginia, a former senior advisor for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, was arrested today on charges that he conspired to steal Federal Reserve secrets for the benefit of China. Wow. Okay, so we had a mole, a spy inside of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And the Pentagon has evicted liberal news outlets. The New York Times, NBC, NPR, and Politico have been evicted from the resident press corps. These are journalists who have physical workspaces in the Pentagon, and they've replaced them with conservative outlets such as the New York Post, OANN, Breitbart, and Huffington Post. Huffington Post is actually left-wing. And 6 American citizens imprisoned in Venezuela have been released and are flying back to America with Trump's special envoy after a meeting with Maduro yesterday. So very good news there. And Trump fired the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And what you're looking at here is some video footage coming out of South Korea today. You can see tens of thousands of people protesting the arrest of the former president, Yoon Suk-yeol. Now, we know Yoon Suk-yeol was a conservative, and he was very pro-America, and we know that the new South Korean government could potentially have been infiltrated by China, and so they're trying to arrest the former president. So something's going on over here in South Korea. We have to be on very high alert. South Korea is a critical ally for us. And I wanted to just share some video footage from my live stream this afternoon. So what you're looking at here is an eagle's nest in the Pennsylvania farm country. And you can see these 2 beautiful eagles here hanging out, soaking up some of the beautiful sun today. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Check out my 24/7 live stream. It's on right now. I will be back later on tonight, possibly. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.